Welcome back to whatever episode of Bad Questing this is. We come at you like Darkwing Duck in the night. It's that terror that flaps, and we just arrive whenever we're here. But we're here today in particular to talk about how our teammate Luke Campbell won the 2.5K at PPG Pittsburgh this past weekend. So I'm joined by Brandon, as always. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm alive. Wish I could have been there. We were just talking before, watching from home. It was awesome. It was awesome, but
yeah,
not here to hear me.
I got to be a proud dad with my chair watching the TV at PPG while Luke was on the live stream match. But Luke, so you're here. Welcome. First time on the stream,
Yes.
on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. You were more of a proud dad in between rounds. It was like every round, do you got water? Do you need a snack?
Oh, yeah.
Are you good? It was even right out the gate, round one. It's just like, all right, how we feeling? Still going strong? All right, keep going. Yeah, it was a great time. I'm glad we were able to experience it. Look forward to many more. And started out with the 10K. I had a very hot start going 3-0 and picked up my first loss. So I finally got the first loss, nerves out of the way, and I found myself going 5-1. I was at a perfect spot, winning in position, and I just couldn't close it out. Ended up losing my last two matches and dropped down to top 32, missing the top cut, which was unfortunate. But I was taking notes each round about like the matchups, if I was on the play on the draw, and what I went against. And after the final round, I went back and I looked at it. I played 8 different combos, 8 completely different decks, no duplicates. Played Dogs once, Blurple once, your top meta decks. But I also had a couple kind of offshoot decks, like I went against a red-yellow match. And like you caught the tail end of the game 3 at least, where neither of us were really turning our board sideways for lore. We're both still sitting at 4 or 5 each, and there's maybe 8 characters on the board for both sides. And it just got to the point where whoever could keep top decking the better questers was ultimately going to win that game.
No Raging Storm they didn't have?
Sitting on 6 ink, but it was a worry. He had Shark on the board. He's already played Pirates Life 1, so it's like I wasn't in a position to really do too much without getting hit hard for it. But that was a really fun match to play against, and I was glad that my list did as well as it did, being with the intentions of being able to combat dogs with some aggro, playing the queen, being able to take out like the Lilo out of the discard, and the other 2-drop characters that like the tramp and the lady put in the discard and are able to pull back out, which really swings the game pretty heavily. But it also has the ability to take on the late match Blurple with like the Horseman, Demona. Being able to play Horseman on curve, I can banish a Genie or an Elsa and keep the game within reach, while also being able to, having Horseman on board, going into Demona turn 6, I can start cleaning the board a little bit with the whole board exerted, boosting my characters. The 1-drops that have been played previously, all of a sudden that Palace Guard's swinging for 4, and he's a 4-body. So overall it's relatively consistent, and I feel like it has a fair shot against pretty much any deck.
Well, let's stay on your deck for a bit then here for a minute, because you made changes going into the 2.5K. So missed out on qualifying for top 16 in the 10K. So close. Either matchup could have gone your way, I think. But ultimately, that's where the cards landed. But you made some changes between day 1 and day 2 for that 2.5K. So talk about the changes you made and why you made those changes, given the fact that you had just done so well on the previous day's list.
Yeah, so after a couple of the rounds, I found myself not being able to deal with the big body characters. Like I had a game against like the Amber Sapphire match where they've dropped the 4-cost 4/6 Nakoma, and nothing on my board can really deal with that very effectively. So I was just trying to think of characters that would fit the style of the deck that would also be able to take on those kind of characters. So I opted to take out one of the 2/4 draw a card when you play Evasive Genie, and I took out one of my Diablo, the 2-drop, and I put in 2 Hercules. So being able to do the 5/3 body and challenge into characters without having to worry about the repercussions is just huge. Also having Horseman or Lumiere on the board, I would be able to deal with that, the 4/6 body, with just one swing, and they have to swing back into it or else it's going to punish them.
Mm-hmm.
And going into round 1 for the 2.5K, it was exactly the card I needed. It pretty much carried me through my game, round 1. I went against Amber Steel, and I played the Hercules on curve. They couldn't play Strength. They couldn't play Herald's Thunderbolt. They couldn't do anything with Angel. So I found myself in a position where they're kind of on their back heels, and I played Elsa, being able to exert one of their characters. So I exerted their Rhino and forced them into a position where they either have to banish with Angel through challenge, or they're gonna let Herc live another turn. And they end up keeping Angel on the board. They let Herc live another turn, so it got to the point where I was able to get Demona out, and I essentially just cleared the board. And it was a huge help in the Amber Steel match. I didn't see any purple steel during the 2.5, actually, which was really surprising.
Yeah, I want to say the meta share was really evenly spread out through the 10K. I don't know what it looked like. I don't think they even posted that breakdown. But honestly, the pool of that 2.5K were all the sweaty players from the 10K. Many of them were like top 16 that just got knocked out of the day 2 for the first day tournament. So it was pretty competitive from that standpoint. So I'm surprised no Amethyst Steel players ended up going against you, Luke. But Brandon, you're hearing him talk about this. What are your thoughts on like this experience, the meta, seeing Ruby Amethyst kind of pop off like this?
So there were several things that came to mind as you were talking. One was how we become a better player, which we've talked about at times on here. Excuse me, getting over sickness. And after every game, keeping note of the play draw, keeping note of what you played. And those are such big things because you learn and you react and you learn and then become proactive for the next day. So that was a huge piece for what I heard. Then you make that change in your deck to do something to address what you saw, right, which is big. And the other side, I last set we went to Richmond together, right? And I played terrible there and turned around and switched to the Ruby Amethyst for set championships, for the rest of the set championships. And I got my one set championship playing that. And I think there's definitely some differences, but Herc was a great card in there because I think you really touch on is great. I think I was running Next Stop Olympus with it too, which makes it even. I might not fit this deck, but there's some really key cards. The Queen, I've tinkered with that a little bit because you can bury cards from your opponent and it's a great late lore, and then they have to focus on it. Conversely, when I've played against it, now I've seen a lot more people playing it this past week, I'm being honest, is they're playing it when I've got like one card in my discard, and I laugh. I'm like, I'm running Moana here. You're never going to get to play much on this, right? But so yeah, I'll let you sit there all day with that card. It's less of a focus, but yeah, it was cool, and I love hearing the let's think about what we did, because that's one of the things we will continue to be getting better with all that. It made me also think, and I'm going to throw something at you, is last set going into Richmond, you built a deck that was, your mind was the meta buster, right? Mm-hmm. And then never saw meta while you were in Richmond. And then you saw repeated same things and whatever. But what made you jump to Ruby Amethyst? Was that in the same idea? Is this going to be a meta buster? Or is it just something you wanted to try or something you've done in the past?
I think it's kind of the sweet spot of the meta at the moment, where it has the ability to combat dogs pretty adequately and it's got the late game potential to also deal with the Blurple and the blue-green match. So there's not really any mid-range decks out at the moment besides Purple Steel, because the Amber Steel is a little more aggro-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So filling in that mid-range kind of keeps the rest of the meta in check a little bit, because you're either going to go against aggro or you're going to go against something kind of late game. So I was trying to find that balance between the two where I can have at least a fair shot against everyone, and it panned out well.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things watching you play matches on that day too was when your opponent had to ask, was that card due? In particular, it was the Hades and, not Hades, excuse me, the Hercules and the Queen. And I knew like the win was guaranteed when they had to do it a second time. Later in the game, like if they went back, what does that Hercules do again? I was like, oh, he's got this. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to interact with this board state now. To your point, Brandon, the Queen, just like multiple times of catching your opponent with multiple princesses in their discard to be like, you got to answer this Queen now or else I'm going to gain a bunch of lore. And by answering the Queen, what else are you giving up? Am I going to now challenge with a Hercules? Am I going to drop a Headless Horseman to banish this character to give my Palace Guard that additional strength? Like, there's a lot of control happening in the deck. So seeing that happen with those two cards was pretty impeccable. So let's talk then about your the champion experience. You know, this was not a top cut tournament, but it was 6 rounds, kind of like gauntlet. Whoever gets to the top of the hill is the winner, and you got to the top of the hill. So talk to us about that that last game, the last match, and how it felt.
Yeah, so going into the last round, I knew I was playing against dogs, which tends to be a more favorable matchup for me, and I'm really excited to see when that feed comes back out, because I want to go back over and just watch my games, see if there was anything that I missed. Going into game 1, I saw a pretty good curve. The Queen was my biggest component going into that first game being on the play, and I ended up playing her on curve where I'm expecting them to play Tramp turn 3, turn 4, and they're going to start throwing a lot of cards in the discard. And that's what ended up happening was turn 5, after she's ready, I was able to exert her. I took 3 cards out of his discard, put into the bottom. I took out all the two cost characters, left him with, I think, Under the Sea, Della's Moon Lullaby, and there was another bigger character that he wasn't going to be able to do anything with. So that forced him into a position where he's either going to have to sacrifice a couple of his characters, or he's going to have to sacrifice, I think he had the 4/4 lady on the board. So that puts him in a position where he's going to lose a lot of his big singers to deal with this Queen, or he's going to let me keep her on the board. And the next turn, there were 3 more cards left in his discard because he didn't deal with her. So I used her ability again, and I 3 more lore. So now all of a sudden I'm on top of having Diablo on the board, just questing away. I find myself, I'm already in the double digits, and they're still close to 0, trying to set up the Under the Sea. And just having the Queen threaten the board like that, it's like, if you are gonna put more characters into it, it's gonna pay. So it's gonna be very relentless. And then going into game 2, I looked at my starting 7 before the mulligan, and I saw 2 Lumieres, and I'm just like, this is a good spot. This is right where I need to be, because I know this is gonna prevent the Under the Sea coming. And so I kept the 2 Lumieres. I kept all my 1-drops, 2-drops. So after mulliganing everything, I had 2 Lumieres, 2 Diablos, a couple 1-drops, and a Cheshire Cat. So I was like, this is the perfect starting hand I could ask for. And so I played Lumiere turn 2. They responded with Nani, and they pulled Finnick out. So originally I was going to play the Cheshire Cat turn 3 just to have the bigger body on the board. But seeing Finnick come out, knowing next turn, if I don't play Lumiere, he's going to kick the first Lumiere back to hand, I have to keep that board state in a favorable position. So I opted to put Lumiere out turn 3 instead, which then protected the rest of my board from being kicked back to Finnick, and he ended up inking it instead. And so I ended up drawing into a third Lumiere just over the first few draws, and as soon as I put the third one down, it just sat there. Well, it didn't bother turning them sideways. I'm like, you're just going to be there to keep everyone safe and then let everyone else do the work. So now all of a sudden I've got a 1/4 Palace Guard. He's just questing away, but he's swinging for 4. So they can't swing under the sea. They've got to trade everything into 1 Palace Guard, which he ended up hitting with a Delamoon's Lullaby later on, which took him out. But I still had 2 Diablos on the board, and then once he put the Chromacon out, that's when the math got a little more interesting, because I know he's going to start kicking characters back, and he's going to start questing as well. So I'm like, this is going to turn into a big race. So that's when I started actually turning Lumiere sideways a little bit, knowing he's going to kick him back to hand, forcing me to play him back down. And I was fortunate enough to just have enough low-cost characters where, like, I was inking every single turn regardless of the board state. Like, I would never play Demona in that matchup just because I'm not looking to give them that hand size. So it got to the point where he found his second Chromacon, and that now makes it so I'd swing into 1 character and I'm losing 2. So he was threatening game on board. He was at 15 and he's questing for 7. So I'm like, okay, this has put me in a spot where I need to find a way to deal with not 1 but 2 characters now. And it was like, I got to turn certain characters to gain the lore, or else I'm not going to be able to come back from this, because I would lose 2 characters per character I take out. So I remember questing with Diablo and a Lumiere. I left 3 characters untapped so that it gave me the ability to take out a second character, even if he kicked back the 2 of the ready ones. So then I would be able to still have that third threatening character on the board, because even after they returned it back to hand, I could put the Lumieres back down and deal with another threat.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what you think if the video gets dropped and you can go back and rewatch, because I feel like a lot of people thought it was probably a mistake for the Dogs player to play that Chromacon, because at that point it was like a race. You were just kind of like giving up something that would have quested for lore to play the Chromacon, and what you decided to do is like, okay, I'll just go sideways in quest and like not worry about your side of the board. And at that point I think you just had like the 1 turn advantage. Now you had gone sideways beforehand and lost basically some momentum by playing an item that you're not even going to interact with.
Right. And I'm curious to see what his hand was. So I remember at the end of the game he did put his hand on the table, and I remember seeing Under the Sea. So I'm like, well, so that was kind of a little bit of a brick in his hand.
Yep.
Because it wasn't going to be able to do anything for him, and he didn't want to. There was nothing to target with the song. So I don't remember what the other cards were, but yeah, it bought me the time needed to establish the board state. And being that I only had low cost characters on the board, even after taking 1 out, I had the ink to still put everything back down. But and seeing his list after the tournament, he was only running 2 Chromacons. As he saw both of them.
Yeah, the worst time of, I guess, wanting to see them is at that state of the game. Yeah. All right, well, that was your tournament experience. You're gonna run Ruby Amethyst back for set champs. You got anything else cooking up?
Yeah, so I plan to run Ruby Amethyst again for this upcoming set champs. But it's a little bit of a hot take, but I think I'm gonna remove the 4-drop genie, the 2/4 evasive, draw on your turn.
Hot take.
Because it's a super strong card, don't get me wrong, but I think in the current meta it's just not super good, in the Ruby Amethyst list at least, Blurple 100% makes sense. But it seems like every time I played it, it was removed off the board very easily, whether it was Under the Sea or my opponent played Elsa and took it out, and that left damage on the board with Cheshire Cat, or other means like that, where I think putting in Sven, the 2/3 rush, Challenger 3, is going to be more beneficial, because in most matchups, especially against anything yellow, they're playing Horseman Strikes. So if I can't get the immediate gratification from playing that evasive character, I don't think there's too much of a point in playing it in this current meta. I'll still, like, Dumbo's still going to remain in the deck, but the only other evasives are Elsa and it'll be Sven, but they're both rush characters, so I'll be able to get the value from them pretty much the turn I play them. So I'm going to take out the genies most likely, round off Diablo to 4, round up the I was thinking about putting another Hercules in, because he was super helpful in some matches, and I'll put that'll be at 2 of the Svens.
And that keeps your uninkable count the same?
12.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice.
So I'll be at 4 Horsemen, 4 Diablo, 2 Sven, and 2 Hercules. And it still gives me plenty of turn 4 options as well. And then if I have an evasive that does stick, Dumbo can come out turn 5, and I can still gain lore off of him.
A card you haven't talked about that I thought played a key role, and I'm seeing where it might make sense to cut the genie because you got this in here, is the library, and how impactful it was to have that on board, either for that big Raging Storm board wipe to come out, or just as this threat. We've joked in our group a lot of, like, we've got McDuck Manor at home, and it's like the library coming out. But I'm pretty sure when you drop 2 of those libraries out against your opponent, they were like, what do? I don't have enough strength to deal with 16 willpower. So yeah, like maybe talk a little bit about what the library did for you this weekend too.
Yeah, so the library is a great card. It forces my opponents to exert something, or they're going to allow me to build up that board. I had a feature match against a blue-green player, and I played the library turn 3. So I had a bunch of characters on the board. It got to the point where he plays Prince Philip, and I'm like, he's going to most likely play the combo on me next turn. So I put all 3 characters I had on the board in the library and just quested away and waited. And it forced him into a position where he did play the combo, but I just drew 3 cards off the library while still gaining that lore. And he only had Prince Philip on the board at the time, so he's able to do 6 damage into the library, but it still doesn't go down yet. And I had one of the matches, it was I played They Never Come Back on the Prince Philip. So
yeah, because the announcers, when he did that, were like, whoa, what was that? Like, oh man, that changes things.
Yeah, because that buys a whole extra turn for the library. It's 1 more lore. The Prince Philip can't ready.
Can't quest,
Can't
right?
quest. It can't do anything. And then...
And you got a card.
Yep. And I draw from it, so it replaces itself. So I remember I tapped the Prince Philip for it, and I tapped the Cindy for it. And so he had no characters that could deal with the library. And then the very next turn, he shifted the big Clarabelle, and then he took out the library that turn. But I was able to... I drew into another copy of it. So I played it again, except I tapped the Prince Philip and the Clarabelle this time. So it allowed me to buy a little bit more time just to kind of build up the board a little bit, empty my hand a little bit before Clarabelle can get too big. And I was able to... I don't know if I actually won that match. I don't remember if that was game 2 or not. Because it was... I won game 1 and game 3 on the play, but that might have been game 2.
Yeah, you pretty much destroyed him in game 1 and game 3, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I liked your analogy for game 3. It was like slowly closing the game, and it was inevitably just getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, a pretty graphic depiction of like someone's boot being pressed into something. I think is the way I described it, slowly, because that's what it looked like. It was oppressive. pretty incredible. I think you surprised a lot of people at the tournament, Luke, just of like not only a Ruby Amethyst deck, like just like, oh, like doing like showing up and doing well, but like how you won the games. There was never a moment where it was like, this is gonna be like really close. Luke can't make a mistake. You had close matches, but it was like you were making your opponent do work to ultimately you didn't win that game, or you were giving him a master class of like, all right, you got 10 minutes, so enjoy this game of Lorcana. That's all you got.
Yeah, it's nice being able to put them in a position where it forces them to think a little bit, because a lot of like the decks have certain lines that like, okay, I'm looking to do this, and then this. But when you're able to play characters like Hercules or the Queen, it's like, okay, what do I got to do now? Because that changes their next few lines. So, for example, like the Amber Steel or the Purple Steel, it's like playing Hercules turn 4, that takes out their Strength of the Raging Fire next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Takes out He Hurled His Thunderbolt next turn. So it forces them to think and put themselves in a different position that they may not necessarily want to be in. But
the things, again, I'm hearing, I'm listening to like what makes Luke a good player. Every card means something. If you've been listening to Luke talk about his deck, and we'll use Genie as an example. When someone builds an Amethyst deck, no matter what it is, Genie's almost always included, right? Because he's draws and he can quest for 2 and he's evasive and he's got all these things going for him. And regardless of what the Horseman strikes, is that the Horseman? When that card obviously takes a lot of its power away when you're playing Amber, but a lot of people won't pull it out. But then what Luke's talking about is, I'm looking at my deck, I don't see the need for that, and I find a need for something else to make me overcome what I need to do. So that goes a long way, and I think the best people, the best players, they think about those things. I know that's something that I try to get to, is like, when I was looking at decks this set and what I was building, what is the reason I have this card in here, and why did I include this card, and what is it getting me? And is it even fitting? Like you said, like, what's my deck trying to do? Like, yeah, this card's a great card. Genie's an amazing card, but doesn't fit what my deck's trying to do. And that's what makes a great deck. I would argue that your deck is a harder deck because you need to be a good player to play it properly. Like, I think there's a lot of thinking that goes in, and I don't think it's a deck that people would come in and just be able to play. You need a lot of games in it. It was funny because first thing you said to me when I talked to you after you guys got back, whatever day it was, have you tried playing Luke's deck yet? And so I went and loaded it into whatever, duels.inc, whatever I'm playing now. And then I proceeded to get wiped like 3 in a row. And I was just playing a deck that's relatively similar. It's got some pieces in it. But you don't know it, and you don't know those lines. Like some of the decks you can pick up and you can just run with, right? This is not a deck that, it's a deck that will frustrate you, that you'll come in and you'll try to play it really quick for a set championship, and then you'll walk away with losing unless you run into someone who doesn't really have the greatest deck or something. But that's what I'm hearing. Like, I always listen. What makes them? What are things I can take away to be able to play? And that's a huge piece. Like, I would have loved to have sat back and with you last set after Richmond to talk about that green steel deck that you built, and just like what was the thought process behind it, because you can just learn so much from that. So it's a credit to you. It's great. I do have a question though for you. I don't want to just make this about me. What was Bailey's response when you got home? So Luke's got a brother, Bailey, that's also on the upside. Luke's brother is, while Luke will play what he's comfortable and build, Bailey will play blue steel, and he will talk you to death, because I like playing blue steel, so we've definitely changed some great stories. Bailey's a great guy, but what was his response? I mean, I'm assuming he was excited, because you guys are great guys and stuff. But
yeah, he was thrilled to hear that I performed as well as I did. He was really sad he wasn't able to be there, but I know that he was watching the finals match and he was just cheering me on.
Yeah.
So, and I look forward to future tournaments, being able to go with him and as well as the team.
Yeah, that's one of the great parts about it. Is like the experience of getting to root for, whether it's your siblings or your teammates, like cheering them on, seeing them be successful in the game. I do really enjoy watching a game of Lorcana too. So as much as I enjoy playing it, it's fun to watch people do it too. And I can stand from the sidelines and say, oh yeah, I'd never do that. Or, oh, I'd absolutely make that choice. Clearly. That's the right one. Indeed.
We were talking about the proud dad thing. Were you the guy watching the TV from the side being like, he's on my team, I'm on the upside?
Well, I was trying to network as much as possible, and people chit-chatting with them as we're watching, saying like, oh yeah, that's Luke from the upside, just representing. You see that? Oh, yep, that's him right there. He's playing. Yep. Oh, look at that Ruby Amethyst too. You should talk about it. It's a pretty interesting deck, I hear.
And I will tell you that there's a store that's starting to get into Lorcana here in Beeville, Shiny Cardboard, and I went in there on Monday, and the first thing the owner, she said to me was, were you in Pittsburgh? That was so awesome. Was following along on the Discord. That was so cool to see him win. So it's like that community's there. One of the things we want to build with the upside is that Lorcana community in Central New York and Greater New York, and and people are watching to see how people are doing, and we're so excited to see local guys doing well. So that was awesome. That was really cool. It was a great feeling. Like the first thing I came home was like, they were so excited for Luke. And I was like, I wish I was there. I wish I could have been there, but
Yeah, so I made a Facebook post just kind of highlighting the event in one of the Facebook groups, the TCG fans for Lorcana, and one of the other finalists, he commented, he's like, he was trying to watch my game. He was playing the Dogs player next to me. We were in like the top 4, and he was playing against the Dogs player. He was like, I was trying to watch your game while playing mine. He's like, I was trying to see what your deck was, see how it plays, because he's like, I haven't seen something like that. And that was when I was playing against the Amber Sapphire player.
Also an interesting matchup too there. Well, okay, so great tournament experience, fantastic win for Luke. Proud to represent the upside for us. Could we expand this conversation? Like talk about like the meta, the state of Lorcana, because we just had a DLC. There have been several DLCs. This is the year of DLCs, just not in North America, apparently.
back to
back, but all around the world. And there are players that are literally traveling back to back for all these DLCs and doing really well. But what I would want to turn the conversation to now is talking about like the meta more broadly. Is this set, I think, has been the most competitively tested set in a very long time, because there have just been so many high stakes tournaments that we're seeing the same players participate in. And we're also seeing different decks win. So to the naysayers of the meta, is it bad, or is this like a really good thing? Because there has been a different deck other than Dogs winning, I think 2 large tournaments recently, but we've had different DLC winners in the past, I think 3 DLCs within this set. So
what did Zan win?
Dogs.
Zan was Dogs. Ed was blue-green.
But I don't think
With
there were
ink
any
geyser.
winter spell cards in it.
No, he went straight.
Yeah, set 10.
Yeah.
And so my list, only winter spell card in the entire list was 2 copies of Christopher Robin.
Which is a great card.
And that was it. And for the most part, he's ink unless I'm on the play or I'm on the draw, and he's in my starting hand.
Yeah.
Other than that, he just is kind of in the inkwell.
Which is a huge value of that underdog.
Yeah.
I think that on those underdogs, but different story. Again, I get distracted.
Well, no, that's a part of the conversation, I think, like with the meta. We did see in some Ruby lists the blanking on the Ruby underdog card.
Ice Meister.
Oh, the Liquidator?
Liquidator, yeah.
Yep. Ice
That's
Liquid.
popped up in some lists. It's not to
It's
say
a good
like,
one.
the underdog mechanic isn't being tested elsewhere. I think kind of where I'm going with this topic is that the meta needs to be tested more. Like people need to try different things like a Ruby Amethyst deck because we're seeing so many different types of decks win, right? There's just like anyone can do it. It's not quite rock, paper, scissors. So there's skill plus what spice. And I would argue like Ed's deck, the spice part of it is that Ink Geyser. Like, yeah, it's set 10, but it's like with this card that we don't really see get played unless obviously it's this color combo.
It sucks
has to be
when you get hit with Ink Geyser.
yeah. And you are on the back foot and they've got like a fully developed board. So.
Yeah. And I saw him at the previous DLC talk about including Ink Geyser, and he said he's been doing so much testing with it, and it was just the right thing to do. And he's like, people aren't prepared for it. So it's adjusting on the fly, because he said he was looking at a couple different decks going into it. What won the 10K? Was that a Steel Song in Pittsburgh?
Amber Steel, I think, right? Yeah.
Amber Steel.
Yeah. Which I loved seeing. I mean, we've both been Amber Steel players for so long. It was cool to see that again, to get back up there. But yeah, I mean, we are seeing a whole bunch of things. I think the big names keep playing the consistent decks, which are starting to run out because they've got only one more set championships after this one, and a lot of those cards are going to be gone. Dogs is done. Yeah. But like, I think that as people continue to test, when we came out of the gate, and we saw like one of the first 2 weekends it was DLC and same stuff's winning, seeing the same things up there. And even when Ed won, I think, wasn't the other 3 Dex dogs in the final 4. I want to say.
No, I think it was actually 3 Blurples.
Oh, it was Blurples? It was
dogs,
3 or something.
Dogs got eaten the round previous.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. There was a whole bunch of them at some point, yeah. So, but then people are doing what you're doing. They're spending the time getting the games in, you say, and continuing to test. We're still playing things out. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from set championships from today, right? First round of them. But I think you're going to see your local. It's going to be who knows what's going to see in the first ones, and then the people bounce back for the next one. I think we're seeing. I'm starting to get nervous for myself because the first weekend set championships, I'm going to be in Florida, and Anthony and my wife are going to be at Universal, so I'm going to go do a set champs in Orlando. And I'm going to spend all this time preparing for what's being played here, and I'm going to go there and have no idea.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, and then who knows? I'm going to play what I'm comfortable with and what I enjoy, right? But yeah, so I can't wait to see where we come out of that. Do we have any more big DLCs that are not Infinity?
No, there's only one DLC left in the States, at least, and it's going to be Infinity.
And the next CCQ, which is in Canada, is...
I think it's
next
Vegas.
Right, Vegas. The next one that's on the more accessible for us, right? Is an Infinity one also.
Yep.
Up in Canada.
But is Vegas?
No, I think it's Core.
I think it was. I think you said that, didn't you, in your post? I think
I posted a picture of just the information on it, but I didn't see anything regarding whether it was Core or Infinity.
And that's early April.
It's
nope.
End of April.
That's end of April.
Yeah, that's one of my birthday weekend. That's why I said I wanted it. People are looking for gifts. All inclusive weekend. Then actually WrestleMania is the weekend before, so we could make it a big week, even though I'm not a big Vegas person. Maybe go out and see the desert for a week.
So there'll be the last chance to qualify at playing Core Constructed then.
Except for the last chance qualifiers. Is that Core or is that Infinity? Do we know?
I don't know.
I don't know if we have those details.
It's kind of something big tomorrow with it, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, tickets go on sale tomorrow at noon.
So that would be helpful information to know. I would wager that would be Core Constructed.
Yeah.
Worlds is most definitely going to have a combination of both, right? I mean, there's no way they can't.
I think they've alluded to it with like the structure of keeping it at a X below 30 something, so that way you can have the correct number of pods or whatever. Which I think is interesting because it's like it's a limiting factor, a constraint, for the World's tournament, but it's not something we currently see a lot of like organized play around sealed events, and I think maybe Ravensburger's leaning more towards that with the upcoming pre-release kits. So like they're incentivizing people now to participate in the pre-release for those exclusive promos that you get within them. But it's this limiting factor to prevent people from maybe doing their best at Worlds, and there's not a lot of support for it. So not only do you need to know Core Constructed, but you have to know Sealed for it. And I'd be curious to see if there would be Infinity at this Worlds, because we're literally using it as a way to qualify.
It's got to be.
Be sad to not see it again.
Infinity at that.
I wonder if the triple deck format would be Infinity. Like if they had like a Core.
That would make Infinity a lot more, because I don't know where you guys are at with Infinity. You don't play it that much, right? I know we talked last week or 2 weeks ago. You play it occasionally, right?
I got a Steel Song deck that I will play until they say I can't play it any longer.
Right. which would kind of goes against infinity. But yes, the but and I'm the same way. I've been making tweaks here and there, but I still feel it's hard to beat some of those. Blue steel's actually become the harder one I've really struggled with. And then there's always the Ruby Amethyst, anything with Ruby, because you're always worried about the board wipe there. I want to see someone throw a Amber Ruby together, because that'd be fun. You throw 8 board wipes in there and just totally screw with your opponent.
Or you could even go red-green, because there's Prince Philip combo.
Oh man,
Parrot with Shark. There could be something there as well, because that is an effective. It's a one-sided board wipe, or the new Wreck-It Ralph. If you boost that, that's another half-side board wipe, or could be full side. But
yeah, I mean, there's some. I think those are the things that we don't see tested. 'Cause I think we've gone back to Steel Song, blue, red,
what everyone's played.
Yeah. Although I sat here listening to you talk about the Queen going, man, that just destroys most of my Steel Song deck because it relies on a lot of princesses.
So many princesses.
Yeah. Although you running Rapunzel in yours?
In Steel Song? Absolutely.
So I've dumped it for Ohana because it's cheaper and it gives you unlimited damage. So there's some other cards. That was a discussion I've had with Anthony.
Yeah, can't sing.
Can't sing.
Zeus.
There's so many singers now out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running like 12 aerials in my deck, I think, that can all sing it. And with the Aurora, I played a game the other day of it online. This is totally getting off where we were going, but
no, I love
still
this.
Is on turn 3, I think I shifted Big Cindy because of a Cood and was able to get it down on and like I think 1 I played Aurora, turn 2 I played Little Cindy, and then turn 3 I was like sang a Cindy and I pulled it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm playing it for 2. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was able to get. I don't remember what it was. It was really early. I'm trying to think because I had to get it down to 3 cost, right? Because the Cood lets you takes 2 off to shift. Because just for 5, takes 2 off with a Cood.
Yep.
So I think on turn 3 I sang with Cindy to play a Cood, who sings a 3 because that covers a Cood.
All
right.
Now you're trying to get me to play Stout-Hearted again in my list, and I'm like, what do I sacrifice to make this?
Yeah, and I was like, that's awesome. That was really cool because now it made them. It controlled the board for a while, and I don't think it's something I could pull off regularly, but it was really cool to pull off. And a Cood is a new card that I really don't like playing against. I enjoy playing it more than I thought I would. In that any singing decks, because you've got a lot of characters, you can sing it on turn 2 and play some big characters. Or on turn 2 you can sing it and play anything 4 cost. Turn 3 you can play, or you can play Ariel on turn. Just a lot of cards. It's a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm like, wow, I'm so excited with it, and then I just get out of control when I start playing it. The learning the control lines is so hard. There's so many different lines you can play in it.
I will say the Infinity weekend and just like the opportunity to get to come back to the deck, it was like Christmas morning, like to be united with these cards, and like where I kind of not fell in love with the game, but like really enjoyed playing it for the first time, when it was like, this is like a set of combos that I really enjoy doing. So to get that back was exciting, and I look forward to a return to Infinity as we get closer to the DLC. So, what are we doing next, gentlemen? Where are we're talking about some future tournaments, but Luke, what do you want to do next beyond set champs?
I was kind of looking at the Vegas CCQ.
Shoot, we're going to Vegas.
Someone wins a little money and they're ready to go to Vegas. Holy cow!
Well, so being able to essentially fund it with the event from Pittsburgh, being able to fund it just kind of gives me the opportunity to potentially win my chance into nationals or whatever it may be. Like, plus make a little trip out of it as well. Do a little traveling.
Okay.
Have you been to Vegas?
I've not.
It's been a long time. Have you been to Vegas?
No. So we need a quick Vegas story, I think. Say for the podcast.
No, I was. Geez, it's been 20-something years since I've been there, and I'm not gamble like I used to gamble. But it was fun. The first time we went there, I went with 2 buddies after college, and I will say that we flew out of Syracuse at like 6 in the morning. You get there, and it's like 9:30 or something, and we're like, we're gonna power through this. This is gonna be an awesome day. And we'd gotten up wicked early, and at like 8 o'clock we went up at night. We went up to get ready for the night, and next thing we knew it was 3 a.m. We'd fallen asleep. I'm like, Elvis had fallen asleep, and it was awesome. But then we powered. We were like, I woke up. My buddy, I leaned over. My buddy was next to me, and he's like, oh shit. And so then we were like, all right, let's get showered and go. And we went for like 26 straight hours after that. So that was cool. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was like, wow, that was the worst first night of Vegas. By freaking falling asleep at like 8:30. 3 guys, young 20s guys. You think you could handle it a little better. But yeah.
Well, you just take all of that and you substitute it with we played Lorcana in the hotel room until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we played for the next 24 hours. It's the same thing. So I think you're ready, Luke. You might as well just show up.
In the hotel you guys were playing, I'm laying down next to you guys just sleeping. It was like you guys were kind of not teasing me about it, but it's just like,
oh no, that was it. So beautiful. Like here we are, we've got in the worst hotel ever. I got a nice letter written back from like hotel management about the review I gave them. That's a whole nother story for a different time. But oh my goodness, we've got like the table set up in between the beds. People are play testing for the next day. I'm not playing in this tournament. I'm done. My task tomorrow is to focus on a drive, not playing cards. So I know I'm out. But like Marquise, Matt, Mike, they're all playing. This guy passed out on the bed, just zombie. Perfectly like not moving, and then he goes and wins the next day. So that's the testament there, folks, is what makes a good player is a good night's rest. I think is important.
And I believe what was also said before the trip was you'll take care of all the travel plans so you can play your best Lorcana.
Yes. So hey, it worked out.
Took it to heart.
No complaints there. Oh, there's a thing
about this. There's the thing.
Oh,
we want to say congratulations for doing a great job and being the first. Whoops. Congratulations for doing great in Pittsburgh, being the first big winner from thing. And we were also thinking that Luke has told us that when he travels and goes out with his family and stuff, he's always got fluorescent on, and we make him wear black. So we were trying to solve this by giving him a nice fluorescent green upside shirt to fit his style a little better. It'll mimic the one he's got on, but it's got Goliath on the back. And we thought that was a little more fitting for him. So congratulations.
Very fitting. Thank you.
one of a kind. There we go.
There you go.
Neon green. All right, well, there we go. I think that's some happy questing for us now. All right, cue the music, do something, or get us out of here, please.